Hi, welcome back to another episode of Tape Time with Tom. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about the hit 1997 movie, Boogie Nights. No, this is not going to be a commentary as much as I would like it to be, but more of a reflection because I just recently watched Boogie Nights in 70 millimeter over at the AFI Silver in Silver Spring, Maryland. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Boogie Nights. From Hollywood's hottest new director comes the outrageous epic that throws the covers back on California's adult entertainment industry in the swinging 70s. It's a touching and often humorous portrait of a most unusual family of filmmakers brought to dazzling life by an all-star cast and sizzling 70s soundtrack. Starring Mark Wahlberg, Julianne Moore, and 1998 Golden Globe winner Burt Reynolds. So, according to the 70 millimeter website, if you just Google 70 millimeter, this is going to be one of the first things that pops up. You'll be able to see how there is a North American 70 millimeter engagement for Boogie Nights that kicked off last year for a private screening in Burbank, California, in Los Angeles on December 5th, 2022. That was hosted in a post conversation with PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, Michael DeLuca, and John C. Reilly, which would have been a hell of a lot of fun. But then the official world premiere tour kicked off in February of this year and has been touring around the United States ever since. There's definitely one of these 70 millimeter prints, but maybe two, just for perhaps a safety in existence at this current time. So if you get a chance to watch it in theaters on 70 millimeter, it's definitely going to be a once in a lifetime experience. Before going into my own reflections on the movie, having not seen it in a couple years, and for the first time seeing it in theaters, and like my own reflections of like the print itself, I want to go into my own personal history with Boogie Nights first, and I think that's a lot of fun. So back in college, I saw There Will Be Blood, and that kind of changed my life a little bit. And for ever since, I was obsessed, low-key obsessed. Let's say passionate about PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, the director. And ever since then, I was kind of searching out for more of his movies. And I remember looking through IMDb, and like as one young college kid who's trying to go into film at some point does, and he stumbled upon Boogie Nights. I didn't have an older brother or anyone else like that who was able to show this movie to me when I was younger, so I stumbled upon it by myself in college. So I had known about this movie, but having since seen There Will Be Blood, I was like, I'm ready to take the plunge. So I went to my library, and I knew what was in the movie. I knew there's going to be a lot of sex, a lot of nudity, a lot of drugs. And for a kid who grew up going to church, I was like, I had a feeling that someone was going to be like, this kid's naughty. This kid's a naughty boy for going to see Boogie Nights. He should be banned. Pervert. So I go to the library expecting the worst, and it's normal because it's just a library at a university. And they're like, yeah, you can check it out. It's fine. It's right there. And I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. So I don't know what time. I think I was a sophomore year in college. So I get the DVD, and no one else is in my dorm room, or rather in my room of my dorm and everything. So I'm just hanging out. I probably started the movie, let's say around 9-10 p.m. or so, and I watch it. And as soon as it's done, I started again. But so the DVD that I got is probably one of the more famous ones. It's like 2 discs and everything. I watched first the movie, then second the first commentary, and I think it's just PTA. After that, I watched the second commentary. So I watched Boogie Nights 3 times back to back, probably starting around 10 p.m. and I went down, and by the time I was done, it was probably like 4 a.m. And it was an absolute blast watching it back to back to back. And it probably solidified itself as one of my favorite movies during that time period. Since then, I'm sure I've seen it a handful of times, probably a handful more times in college. I would have shown it to Kate and everything, but according to Letterboxd, I think the last time, let's actually take a look before I lie. So the last time I watched Boogie Nights, according to Letterboxd, when I first began using it at the start of COVID, was November 20th, 2021. And I imagine I was doing something downstairs. But no, it's so I haven't seen it since, and I've never seen it in theaters until now. I had a chance to watch it on Valentine's Day in 2019 at the New Beverly Cinema on a double feature with Deliverance, and I really wish I went to go see it, and I didn't, and I feel bad about it. So hopefully I'll be able to do that double feature again sometime. It was for Burt Reynolds and everything, because I think he just had recently passed away by that point. But no, so yesterday, this September 16th, 2023, was my first time watching in theaters, and probably for a lot of people, the first time watching it on 70 millimeter. So what did I think about Boogie Nights in theaters on 70 millimeter? That's an easy answer. It was amazing. The thing is, I love the movie already, but it's a little bit different because I had loved, and I had seen 2001 Space Odyssey. This is a little slight tangent. Previously, before my first time watching 70 millimeter, but watching it in theaters solidified it as one of my favorite movies. I had already known I loved Boogie Nights, so watching it in theaters didn't really change anything really, but it just really allowed me to dive into and just live in this world on this warmth of this film print in the sound system. So it was a lot of fun. Print-wise, I will have to say I got to see the Dark Knight trilogy in 70 when I was in LA in 2019, and on IMAX I think it was also. But that time had a break midway through Dark Knight Rises that lasted maybe 15 minutes. Boogie Nights had something similar to that, but it only lasted about 5 minutes, and it was right after one of the reels, a reel change when Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly were playing guitar in that studio, trying to kick off their music career and everything. And then the only other thing that I really noticed print-wise was the scene when Dirk Diggler, Mark Wahlberg, was basically getting fired by Burt Reynolds, and at the pool party, it wasn't the pool party, but it was leading up to our film shoot and everything. For whatever reason, that scene was extra grainy, and I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it was degradation from the original print, because this print was made off of the 35 millimeter negative, I believe. But for whatever reason, that scene it felt authentically 70s, or I guess by that point in the runtime, it was during the 80s, but still, it seemed more used by that point, and I wonder why. So perhaps at another previous screening on this tour, they had an issue on that reel or something. So who could say? I don't know. For some of the scenes, for some of the scenes that I'm sure if you've seen the movie, you would understand the context. The scene in the donut shop really hit home this time around, because I had heard, I'm pretty sure there were a couple of first-timers watching the movie in the theater, and after the donut shop scene, there were gasps. As much as I would like to have shared that scene with someone who has never seen it, just hearing other folks behind me experience that whole situation for the first time was pretty magical, I have to say. So what stuck out to me this time around compared to all the other times that I've seen the movie? So something that PTA does, that Edgar Wright has adopted and made well known, and I'm sure more people have done it before PTA, and I'm sure a lot more people are going to do it after Edgar Wright, but it's what I call the 3 ECU, and it's a 3 extreme close-up transition. So what PTA has done a handful of times, and editor, and I apologize, I don't remember your name right now, but I'll include it up top. But what they have done in Boogie Nights, and at least it's about 3 or 4 times at the beginning, and then maybe two at the end or so. But it's the act of having scene transitions where it's 3 in extreme close-up shots in rapid fire, maybe less than a second, I have to imagine, maybe even 12 frames or so. And for example, it's between when Burt Reynolds is making himself a drink and Julianne Moore. Between those two scenes, it's an extreme close-up of ice going into the glass. It is a hand with pills, and then it's snorting, or then it's an extreme close up of cocaine getting snorted and everything. And the act of just using that kind of transition just to propel the momentum for the scenes is extremely good, and it's done extremely well. I was afraid that, does PTA do this throughout the whole movie? Thankfully, he does not. It is in the very beginning, not necessarily the prologue, but it's in the first act. The second act is almost entirely devoid of this kind of scene transition, and then maybe it's like 2 or 3 times in the third act. So it sets a scene, it sets world building and atmosphere all very quickly, and it expedites time, which is nice. Since I've seen the movie so many times, I don't think any particular scene itself kind of stuck out to me more than any other. But maybe what I'll say is actors really, I was able to really take a look at some of the actors and some of the mise-en-scene in the background. I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. I love Philip Seymour Hoffman as Scotty J. But after watching it this time around, unfortunately, his character as Scotty J seemed almost like a caricature. And I don't know. I think in hindsight, after watching this time around, I think he's definitely one of the heart and souls of the movie, but I think he's the weakest link, unfortunately. And I know that's probably a hot take, but it's just his character is very surface level. He is infatuated with Dirk Diggler, and it's very much a caricature of someone in the closet, and then outside of on the edge of the closet in the 70s and 80s. So I know it's hard to say, but I think Philip Seymour Hoffman probably could have done it a little bit more subtly. Regardless, RIP and everything. But I will say, scene-wise, I had completely forgotten, or rather completely missed watching it previously. In the scene when Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly are in the hot tub, you could see Scotty J in the background just cleaning the pool after the first pool party. It's kind of fun. I've never noticed that before. It's kind of fun, though. Thomas Jane as whatever his name is. Thomas Jane is amazing in this movie. He's always kind of hit it out of the park. He's always going to be my benchmark for like someone who comes in near the end of the third act and just kind of hits it out of the park for every single scene that he's in. And I might have to dress him up as him for Halloween someday. He is outstanding in the long way down, and I don't know, he's amazing. I can't say it enough. He is completely unhinged in the most realistic way possible, and I'm sure PTA or Thomas Jane has met someone like that in their real life, which is kind of crazy. But I know this whole cast is really exceptional, and all the above title folks are incredible, like on the VHS and the poster itself. But what I'll say is there are 3 actors that I really want to nail home for folks to look out for on their next rewatch. So the heart and soul of Boogie Nights, in my opinion, lies with 3 actors. 2 of them in particular, and then one of them is kind of just like, he's a lot of fun to watch. Luis Guzman is amazing, and I think he's extremely underrated in this movie. And he is always a blast to watch, and especially when he is just chatting with Don Cheadle in the bathroom, or in the kitchen of the pool party, and he's on the phone with Julianne Moore's son. That whole scene is like pitch perfect for like a setup and everything. It is outstanding. But Luis Guzman is amazing in that scene in particular. Also related to that whole scene, I think the underrated heroes of this whole movie are the combination of Don Cheadle and Melora Waters. Don Cheadle should have won an Oscar by now, and he has had such a consistent above like B+ grade acting in all of his movies, and he really should be recognized for in the future. And then for Melora Waters, as someone who's, I don't know, she's phenomenal in Magnolia, but she is just she has such a way to be heartbreaking, sincere, and just gorgeous and vulnerable. I don't know what it is, but she is incredible in Boogie Nights for the limited amount of screen time that she has. I'm sure other folks have had other opinions for it, but in my heart, she reigns supreme in this movie. But yeah, I hinted at it a little bit earlier with Thomas Jane. I haven't smiled so much watching the whole Long Way Down sequence at Alfred Molina's house with Cosmo and the bodyguard and Dirk Diggler and John C. Reilly and Thomas Jane since I watched basically the beginning of 2001 Space Odyssey in 70mm. That whole Long Way Down sequence is outstanding to begin with, and that's probably one of the reasons why I wanted to rewatch it 3 times in college. But watching it on the big screen, you could really hear those firecrackers, and you could really feel the tension. And I just love seeing Mark Wahlberg just kind of like dead face, because if you watch the commentary, one of the commentaries for the movie, you will hear how they shot that at 2 a.m. and they just kind of let the camera rolling on him because he forgot his lines because they were shooting at 2 a.m. and he was dead fucking tired. I don't know. It's just, the whole sequence is incredibly amazing, and I just love how they managed to salvage that whole shot and really hit it home. It's just absolutely incredible. Well, that's about it, I would say. I'll be sure to be doing more of these theater-going reflections in the future, and in addition to all the VHS-related content on this YouTube channel, such as the VHS hauls and the commentaries. So please check out my second channel, Tape Time with Tom 2, and because on that channel is a whole lot of just like originally sourced VHS captures, such as trailers, commercials, full-length VHS tapes, and other miscellaneous kind of stuff. Well, that's about it for today. Like, comment, and subscribe, and always rewind, but more importantly, be kind. All right, see you guys later.